Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Today we're going to take a look at some more figures from Hasbro's 6-inch line of the Black Series, and in this review we're travelling all the way back to Wave 1 of the Black Series line. This particular figure has eluded me for the past couple of years, and finally I was able to track one down on eBay. Paid a little bit more for it than I would have liked to, but I've had a real hard time finding this one since it was released, and I'm finally really happy to have it in my collection. It is a figure that I was 50-50 about picking up, but I've seen reviews on it, I've seen images, and he looks really cool, and I'm not disappointed. It is of course none other than this guy, the Black Series 6-inch R2-D2. This is a really cool figure, and while it's not my favourite from the 6-inch line, he's been packed to the brim with accessories, features, and just awesomeness, really. He's a really cool figure. A little bit underscaled, we'll talk about that in just a bit, but for the most part, fantastic. No complaints whatsoever with this guy, and the tools that he's included with are really cool as well. So before we look at this figure, let's take a look at the packaging that he comes in. As you can see, he does indeed come in the more traditional Black Series packaging that we've seen from the first few waves, obviously with the black and orange design. Obviously the packaging has indeed been changed and it is now like this. So there you go, you'll see the differences there between that packaging. Spoiler alert for my next review, by the way. So yeah, I just thought I'd take the opportunity to show you the side-by-side comparison. As you can see on the top of this very cool box, we do indeed have the R2-D2 image, have the Black Series logo, and then on the back we have an image from the movie. We also have a brief description of the character as well. So there we go, that is the packaging that this figure comes in. And as you can see from the plastic bubble, the amount of accessories and additional features that this guy comes with is absolutely top notch. Now when you consider the fact that these figures are obviously a little bit more expensive than your average 3 3/4 inch figure, they definitely need to bring something a little bit new and a little bit different to the table. And this, as I said, has got to be one of the most unique R2-D2 figures that I've ever seen. Before we jump into the review, let's, as always, take a bit of an HD zoom in on this guy so we can have a look at him in glorious 1080p crisp and clear HD. As you can see, for the time being, I have indeed displayed R2-D2 with all of his extra equipment, and that's just to give you a look at how this figure looks with all those tools and attachments in place. I will tuck them away in just a little bit and show you R2 in his regular form, but I thought this would be a cool way to start off this review. And before I jump into it as well, I just want to wish everybody a happy Black Friday, and I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving as well. So let's talk about this figure. In some respects, he is very reminiscent of the 3 3/4 inch versions of R2-D2. He features all the same articulation and even one of the same features. Obviously, with some of the R2-D2 figures that we've seen in the past, when you swivel the dome, the centre leg does indeed detract and retract, and this particular figure does exactly the same. If we rotate the dome now, for example, as you can see, the leg is going back up inside R2-D2's body and clips in place, which is really cool. I'm really happy that they integrated that feature and didn't just give us a removable third leg. I've never really been a fan of the third legs that just pop out, pardon the expression. But yeah, I'm really happy that they decided to include that. It brings a much more vintage feel to this guy. As you can see, he has multiple tools and utensils, and I'll talk about all of those in just a little bit. But first, let's run through the articulation that R2-D2 comes with. So as you just saw, he does indeed feature a swivel dome, which does indeed click when you turn it, and then obviously retracts the third leg if you turn it in the opposite direction. He also features hinges, or swivels, sorry, at the shoulder. He also has hinges at the ankle as well, just there. The detail on this guy is really cool, definitely increased in sort of detail level from the 3 3/4 inch version. The dome looks fantastic, and you've got that sort of matte silver grey to the dome with the really cool blue highlights. Got all the vents and circuits on the figure as well. Just really cool looking overall. I'm a big fan of this guy, and he looks really nice. So obviously he's got quite a few gadgets and what have you poking out of his head and out of his chest and from the side of his legs. So let's run through some of those now. As you can see, the dome does come very heavily equipped. Not only do we have Luke's lightsaber just there, as seen in Return of the Jedi when R2 pops up the lightsaber and hands it to Luke. We also have the sensor scope, and I forget which utensil or gadget this is, but I know that's the sensor scope that obviously pops up. In fact, no, I think that may be the sensor scope and that's the telescope. I may be mistaken, I'm not clued up on Astromech, but I dare say a few of you guys will be, so feel free to leave a comment if I've got any of those mixed up or wrong. All of these gadgets do indeed pop out of the head. As you can see, if I tip the figure forwards, they are just slotted into holes in the dome, and if you remove those, like so, can be a little bit tight and tricky to do, then you can indeed proceed to cover up the gaps on R2-D2's head with these little plastic parts that are included, which is really good. I'm really glad that Hasbro went to the effort of including, cover-ups once the gadgets have been taken out, which is really good. And this is also a feature that continues round to the legs. As you can see, it does indeed feature the jets that we see him use in the prequel trilogy. These can pop off, but as you can see, it takes some of that blue detailing with it. Now, one thing that Hasbro did, which is very cool once again, is include some coverings so you don't always have to have those jets on display. So you can pop them off and proceed to cover up those holes where the jets would clip in. So that's really cool. And obviously you've got a couple of pincers and tools at the front as well, and those simply just tuck away into the torso. So this is definitely a very cool figure. As I said at the beginning of the review, he is a little bit underscaled. If we, for example, take Boba Fett, then you'll just see how small this guy is. There we go. He just comes up to Boba Fett's waist, so he's a little bit short. Maybe could have been a little bit taller, but it's not a massive issue. I dare say that somewhere down the line we'll get a rehash of this figure and R2-D2 will be re-released a little bit larger, but he is quite small, which isn't so much of a letdown, but it kind of makes you think, well, why is he shorter than he should be? Aren't you a little short for an Astromech droid, sort of thing? But as I said, it doesn't detract from the figure at all. It still looks very cool. Definitely looks like R2-D2. And I thought this would be a really cool review to do for you today, considering that we are about to see the release of the Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens teaser trailer, and R2-D2 was of course the first character to be revealed from that film. So I'll be sure to cover the trailer when it hits, and in the meantime I hope you've enjoyed having a look at R2-D2 from the 6-inch Black Series line. I'll be back to give you a look at a more recent exclusive figure from the 6-inch line in my next review, so stay tuned for that. And until then, as always, I hope you've enjoyed having a look at this guy. Very cool, pick him up. And until my next review, as always, keep collecting and may the Force be with you.